of Commissioners. We have 3 meetings this evening. We have a Grants and Community Development Committee meeting, a special Board of Commissioners meeting, and a Building and Planning Committee meeting. Before we start, please silence your cell phones. Amplifying equipment is available for those who are having difficulty hearing, or this room is equipped with telecoil technology. And lastly, when the floor is open for public comment, we will first take public comment from those who are in the room, and then we will turn to those who are attending virtually. If you are going to make public comment and you're in the room, we're going to ask that you use this podium to your left and that you introduce yourself before you start your comments. So our first committee meeting of this evening is the Grants and Community Development Committee meeting, and I recognize its Vice Chair, Commissioner Gavin.
Thank you, President Sinai. So tonight we are holding a second public hearing to obtain the views of citizens and local organizations on the township's housing and community development needs and recommendations for activities to fund in the township's 2025-26 fund year 51 community development block grant, also known as the CDBG budget, and the draft 5-year consolidated plan from 2025 to 2029. Once we close the public hearing, we'll have some input from the committee on whether to make any amendments to the proposed budget and consolidated plan. So we are opening the public hearing. Before I call on Emily Crane to provide a brief overview of the program, just a heads up, there's been a little, we had not yet known what our budget was coming into today. We had assumed our budget was going to be in the $936,000 range, and we just got word today that it appears our budget's a little higher, $966,616. I'm not going to get into the details. That's why Emily's here. We're leaving it to much better and brighter people. So Emily, I'm going to turn it over to you to give us a little background, including this change, and then we'll open the floor to the public.
Thank you, Commissioner Gavin. Good evening, everybody. I'll take this out, Jody. First of all, if you are here specifically for the Grants and Community Development meeting and you haven't done so already, if you wouldn't mind signing in, there are sign-up sheets right outside the doors here on the table. That would be great. Okay, as Commissioner Gavin noticed, this is the second of 2 public hearings that are required by HUD as part of our 5-year consolidated plan and action plan development process for the Community Development Block Grant Program. The purpose of the hearings is for the commissioners to be able to gather input from residents, public service providers, and other community stakeholders on community development needs. And tonight I'm going to quickly remind you about the HUD planning process, give you a brief accounting of what we've progressed, how we've progressed in the last year and a half, and share with you the priorities identified in the draft 5-year consolidated plan and the proposed 2025-2026 action plan funding budget. For those of you who are new to this, the HUD fiscal year runs from July 1st to June 30th. So right now we are almost at the end of our 2024-2025 year, and we are starting our 2025-26 year. That's what we're applying for right now. As a recipient of Community Development Block Grant funding, the township is required to submit a 5-year consolidated plan once every 5 years, and an annual action plan for each of the 5 years covered by the consolidated plan. The 5-year plan is both a planning document and actually the official application to HUD for this funding. And it establishes the township goals and priorities for CDBG programming for the 5-year time period. The plan is a collaborative effort between the township, the community at large, public service agencies, healthcare and housing providers, community and economic development agencies, and more. The process is accomplished through a series of public meetings, hold stakeholder interviews. We sent out a resident survey this year, which I think almost 500 people answered in the community, which is amazing. I might have that number a little bit wrong, but it's close. Also a review of statistical data and the review of the township's comprehensive plan and other planning documents. There are 6 priority areas identified in the plan with strategies and goals, and those are for housing, homelessness, other special needs, community development, economic development, and administrative planning. You can read in the back of the packet that you picked up outside tonight and that has been online, a much longer edition of what those goals and priorities are. This year, the township is submitting the consolidated plan for fiscal years 2025 through 2029, and the draft plan has been on display on the township's website since Friday. It's also on display in person here at the township building, downstairs at the building and planning desk, and also at the Ludington, Ardmore, and Ballackinwood libraries for anyone to take a look through it and provide comment. There's instructions in there on how to provide comment to us, and comment is welcome through June 10th to be included in the final plans. Let's see, the action plan for the first year of the CON plan is developed simultaneously and as part of the CON plan package. It's really a strategic plan outlining the actions to be undertaken in any given fiscal year with the federal CDBG funds that are allocated by HUD. The program and activities outlined in the annual action plan must principally benefit low and moderate income persons. And I'll just give you a quick reminder of that. There are 3 categories under which all of our programs have to go. And those are the national objectives, HUD calls them. That's to provide benefit to low and moderate income persons, elimination of slum and blight, and urgent need. And as I say every year, we've been pretty lucky. We haven't had much need for urgent need and slum and blight, so principally this is to support low and moderate income persons. I held the first required public hearing on the action plan in February. It was an opportunity for commissioners to hear from citizens, stakeholders, gather information, as I said, and the applications for the 2025-26 funding year were due shortly after that hearing. The applications were reviewed by township staff, also by our consultants from Urban Design Ventures, and I neglected to mention, have two of our consultants here tonight, Dave Jordan and Mike Long are both here from Urban Design Ventures to answer any questions that I maybe can't answer. So let's see. After the applications are reviewed by staff and the consultants and reviewed with the Grants and Community Development Committee, a budget was put together, which we're going to review tonight. And as noted, you're not going to be asked to vote on anything tonight. It's to gather more comments. The board will be asked to, there will be an additional meeting, 7th, and then the board will be asked to approve the budget on June 18th, which will give us plenty of time to get the plan to HUD by the required August 15th deadline. So just a quick review of the last couple of years. We did this a little bit last year. In 2023, the township dispersed $1.6 million in funding. Almost $500,000 of that went in support of the owner-occupied rehab program. Funds also supported the public services, of course, and administration, and upgraded ADA curb cuts all throughout the township. In the fiscal year 2024, which is still going right now, we have a month and a half left. So far, that's dispersed approximately $1.2 million in funding, with approximately $400,000 going to support the rehab program, $20,000 in public service funding, and $250,000 on public facility upgrades, in addition to other things, admin, fair housing. As Commissioner Gavin mentioned, also the township's allocation for 2026 is, I think you said, I can't remember, is this year is going to be $906,616, which is down approximately $19,000 from last year's allocation of $985. The budget that was included in the packet that you got for tonight was developed with an estimated allocation. We were assuming a potential 5%. HUD released a spreadsheet with grantee allocations today. We do not have the official letter yet. We have a spreadsheet telling us what it is, so we have changed the budget a little bit to match that new. So the staff is proposing a budget this year of $908,616, which includes, it's a little bit more than the allocation. It includes $18,000 income from 2023. I'm sorry, 2024, this year. And all the money we're proposing to spend falls under the low and moderate income persons, as I mentioned before. And the categories that we normally disperse this money into are admin, public services, rehabilitation and housing, and economic development. There are 2 categories that have caps. The admin and planning can only 20% of the grant can be allocated to administration and planning, and 15% of the grant can be allocated to buses, which is really hard because we have a lot of really, really wonderful public services providing great service, and we never have to fund them all. So with that, I'm just going to get started on the act budget. First category, admin and planning. We are pretty much maxing out the cap this year. We're proposing $3,323 for admin and planning and three items. General administration, which is salaries, advertising, and support from us who are very, very in helping us interpret regulations. The we have $169,083 going to admin. The second applicant was affordable housing. Lower Merion Affordable Housing, our home purchase program, and they are always do further affordable housing. They're currently working on a plan to expand their affordable housing at 13 St. Asaph's, 6 units, and they're looking to more than that. So they're in the beginning stages of that. They have asked for $30,000. We gave them only their application was two-part. It is for the general administration and fund them for, and 15 with assisting them with architecture plan. We initially gave them $10,000 of upping it when this application came in, hoping that which it did. So we are full 15 for their administration. We are pausing on funding architecture plans until there's a better idea of how the project is going to be funded. The township is, if we fund our plans and the project, then the township's liable to pay them back. Not that support at this moment, so we're not going to support them in the future on this project, but at this moment, holding back on that. The second is public services, and a long list of organizations that we're supporting. Of course, is the Ardmore Avenue Community. This year, we're funding them at $88,092, so a number that got bumped back a little bit up. We got our higher allocation. We had initially pulled a bit out of that in order to up the other buses, which already gets such a small amount, bumping them back up by about $4,000 to $892. So funding the Ardmore Avenue Community Center, who doesn't know, adult and youth group activity, low and moderate income area, and provides after school and for kids and adults. The second public service bus program, which is run through, and it provides transfers senior citizens and also youth and adult and physical challenges and various cultural and social events. And at $3,500. It's been a little bit. It's been used a little since COVID. It's back up. So that's why we the amount of that in the last couple of days. Anyone's wondering. The next two, the ALTERNET organization, they run two dams. They have an escort driver, which is for, ALTERNET has a volunteer base, assist with giving rides to medical appointments, other things like that. And when they can't get a bond, they use this Mara cab or as point to take people where they. We're $5,000. We also partially fund a position with ALTERNET. We funded at $8,000. This organization is the Pond of Aging in Lower Merion Center on Ardmore, which is going to be some changes, but we fund instructional there, so there's arts, painting, exercise for seniors, and as funding to pay for doctors. The next organization, the Montgomery County Center, them at $4,000, but they've requested to them with rent or in our office. Then we have the Senior Center, which is a very active senior center in Narber that provides all kinds of lunches, a whole gamut of things, and they're $6,000. Neighbor Health Helping Neighbors organization is looking for this year for their food insecurity, and they're being funded at $8. Function a book. Organization, the working chip to provide camp food and activities in the summer. They all run an organ to help families, to support families, advocating for them in the school district. They're being funded $1,000, materials, and stipends. Meals on Wheels is being funded again, provide no-cost meals. They provide a lot of meals to people, some at no cost, and increase their ability to provide more no or locals. The JCC is being funded again for their classes for again, funding to pay for those who come in and run these for seniors. Episcopal runs a Clinmore and now started a Kenwood. We funded there at $8,000. The only reason you see it in their funding this year because of visions of starting a new send line was pushed back. Their upcoming year will be quarters of the year, so we to reflect that. No other reason. Surrey provides training people to be caregivers and helps them find jobs, also provides funding for that. I think that is the end of the business. That comes to a total of $62,992. The cap on our nation itself is $104,992, laying out that $18 of program income for last year, and bumping it up to $2,992. Okay, public next one. So this is we up curb cuts on chip. They're every intersection has, but a lot of them are in code, and so we're working with public works and upgrade them fully on schedule with clearing the roads that come out. We're trying to work in concert works to keep that, and we have funded $144,000 this year. Here is the housing. This year we're in the owner-occupied residential rehab program. I'll just briefly let people know, but it's for who live in their homes and can afford meters. We can come in and assist them with this grant. Over the last 2 years, we, almost $900,000 on this project, doing everything from a heater to a roof, even major repairs. Funding is also used to grade the houses that we buy through this program, which I'm about in a minute. The soft costs with relocation and the hard costs for construction, we $299,301 the hard costs, $1,000 for the soft costs. And then the housing, this program is the we buy a house in Blue and affordable housing. We use some of the funds we have for to bring it up to code, resell it to a photo moderate income home. We have $165. You will note that we are mid the economic piece. This minute is there we have nothing for economic development. We're in the middle to hire a new economic development person here, and also Ardmore, who we've partnered with last, and we're programs for that, on a new leader. We are trying to map the programs that passed for development to provide greater impact. We're finding that it was defend and it was just not well as it should, so we rework the economic programs. And I think brings us to the end budget. Yes.
Great. Excellent. Okay, not only for the overview, but also work overseeing this important program. Appreciate it. At this point, we're going to call on public comment, or with public comment in, and then any on Zoom. Comment, please start by introducing where in the township you're from and or what station you're with. As we've already said, go to the podium over comment, and please keep it around 3 minutes. Thank you very much. Please start.
Thank you. Commissioners, my name briefly say that at the Ardmore Food Plan Day, I saw clients, we about 2 last year, so we explored a number this year. One of them had some real estate, their parents' real estate, own real estate. I feel like the township biggest swirl. So we assist people who tangle titles, living in properties and own, or to preserve their houses that they're living there without any legal issue. So we help preparing and transferring. Those are the two things we mostly would be the single large probably do. Jay, you're generous. Our efforts. I think we do our best to enrich it as a result of receiving the funds that we get. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Erica, and I'm the executive Mainline Meals on Wheels. I've been here once before, so you might me and the organization represent. Rather than me speaking, I would read a letter from our recipient. This individual, he does pay for $8.50, but it's a reflection of what I thought it were better than mine. Dear Meals on Wheels, I recently received letters that I was not expecting and therefore had not in my monthly budget. Instead of indulging in myself, I thought it would be spent by the fine Meals on Wheels. I only wish I could give more. As a recipient on a daily basis, it's difficult for me to gratitude to the organization, the chefs and tears who deliver the meal. I am in awe of them and the individuals who make this possible. Someone who rarely goes to the store due to chronic health conditions are nothing less lifeline. I've become a Salvation father as well. 94 years old, recently put on health care. I'll get Meals on Wheels mainly due to his lack of appetite. He does enjoy the soups that are delivered to each of my meals. I save them up for until they can be delivered at his nearby. He always eats well. Giving many soups to my father, and I still can't always eat soups that come with the meal. When that's the case, I only share them with my elder. Although I convinced her to sign up for meals herself, suffers from chronic health and does not get out much. Grateful for what I bring. It also gives us a socialize and a benefit both. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the quality of the meals, variety, and the unexpected items community organization. I absolutely love the bouquet of flowers just before Christmas. Pleased to get the bag, as well as snacks that came on stay. Enjoy the messages and on the lunch bags for children. I must also know how appreciative I am nations by Carl. I hope my message is my small donation begin to compare any benefits Irons on Wheels did to all those involved. It is an invaluable not only to me, but more to our community. I want to thank all of you for doing our program and this organization.
Thank you.
Evening. My name is River Howard, and I'm president of Marion Ardmore, and I rep box lunch and box lunch aid book. And I say that because every talk to me, how we're in book lunch and a book or whatever. People get mixed up, but I want to thank you for assisting us, working with our young. We are going into a year. In our 10th year, where basic summer program, we go all the year. All through the year, work parents, the advocates for children, on Christmas, on thing. We give bills to seniors, also people that are part of our program, because it seems during Christmas holiday, Thanksgiving holiday, people provide dinner and complete Thanksgiving time and complete Christmas time and even the Easter house. So we work with the local system for children to enriched in math and reading, and we have program day. I think Lorraine, I just someplace. Lorraine has programs that you're going to. So that we, if she did you get? Oh, okay. Lorraine, did you gave them to Emily? So we'll be giving you one programs we're having on this coming Saturday in community conference. And with conversations, we things that are going for young people with their parents, challenges. And these stations of situations, the parents and school system together to work about two situations. This all through the we work with children with tutoring before, work with seniors also who have challenges their food, also with understanding specimens. Thank you for helping us. We look forward into our 10th continually working with our children. So prepare kid buddies, in people to and work with parents to be kids in the schools. When we use work with our children, some people are afraid to school system, to teach, to counselors, and so we are training to be the kids for others who are afraid to talk up or speak up on that. Also, programs just to bring unity together. Twice a year, we have a breakfast. We come in and we bring unity together. It takes a village. Our community's gotten to the point of the people up together and knew who their neighbors are. Some would look outside, wonder who your neighbor. You don't know who your neighbor is. So we try to come together here with our breakfast, so who your neighbor is, and so that you can, with your neighbor, make this a loving, caring place. Allow the bill to continue to this the place that we want children to grow up. So, thank you for hearing us.
Very fortunate and a wonderful organism in this community. I've come, I know of services for seed, and thank you for past support, nonprofit, the comprehensive programs and activities for Old Sand, celebrating this month. You're here in Lower, and thanks to your support. We're here to seek funding for our academy program you funded last year. This is a program that addresses the shortage area and also the caregivers area. So we provide painting for anyone that wants to become a certified caregiver, and then they have an opportunity to worry or another organization. It's a very comprehensive program. It's training that we provide with our skill rate at our San Bryn Mawr on the Presbyterian camp. We also have free caregiving in the many family care that's caring for in their home, and we're doing some outreach. Another piece to the academy, which addresses some of caregivers who are faced with they have quit their job for a family member or figure out how to hire a professional. So we're outreach and marketing beginning to the survey, a program for caregivers through the normal encompassing, and then need insurance or county options to care own loved one, and they can additionally work for us as well. So in addition to the survey this year, just wanted to share, and again, thank you for this program.
Thank you.
My name is Michelle. I'm the executive director of ADVERTISE. We're going into our 50th year here, and we being our married throughout that time. Thank you for all your support this time. Excuse me, my allergy wild. Forward, we found that the 3 programs that we serve the community, there has been 40% in the last year in the serve and how we, the amount of we to the community, over $250,000 now, is through our owners and community members that support us. Our invitations serve volunteers, track over 8 miles in our volunteers, and we also support on time because many times volunteers is we approximately 80 volunteers, about 80 of them throughout. We still need help with tax and with Maxwell going that cross, but we've been Uber and Uber help that, and your support comes to help us move on. Also, all volunteers go in mall handyman stores like us for folks, and has also considerably as many of our folks who age out in their homes. Everybody, we said 130 below poverty, and we serve the over 60 years or having a handicap behind. Our Adjournment is divided into chunks. One, a life, there's much needed in terms of waste managers, data could be formed, getting them, they need to go, or getting them to the pantry rides like that. And then the other part is management is senior intensive service. And this is where they have just kind of lost track of it. They need to today are the tech that we're dealing with these, or just have many we then begin and help them. Any numbers that they continue to follow the time. Most of our we've been serving for years. Average span could be 5 years. Waste management can go as long as they want it. Anything else that for your support. Thank you for everything, and keep it work too.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nancy, and I'm the Director of Wellness at the JCC. I'm here this evening for your support of the JCC. Generosity provides senior at a discounted rate, possible for more in our community to connect. These nourish the mind and spirit, so helping to deep challenge of isolation or adult space. I want to share stories that reflect the impact of your support. One adult shared last summer that her to be able to move her grandson's leg independently. She could care for him. And told the doctors at the G this was her. She every day by the end of the summer able to remove the leg on. She not celebrated with her, also with her instructors who encouraged every step of her way community around. Another adult told us that loss of her husband, she found it difficult to turn to the G. But after our gems of the G are seen, she gave and found a renewed action purpose within our community. These are the many lives transformed by believing in our mission, the power of community.
Thank you very much.
Very quick. My name is Rich. I'm the director of New Horizon Center. Thank you for all that you provide us. I want to thank the support that you be providing in a year. Over the course of a couple of months, we are in person by about percent. So we've been 5 days in pro. Someone that was on now we're 5 days a week. The increased number of meals providing as to person anybody in for lunches. We said by about 30% here. We set a new program phase this year, partnering with the A Foundation, provided tax prep filing for. We did every Monday throughout the season. We were at for 300 this year, which is one of the programs that the Foundation's had in the area. Over this next year, to reach out to collaborate sort of services and providers. There's in the area we're trying to get out about what we decided about our fear and intervention into the new Ashbridge House, talking about that. And we want to do is a complement the other service purpose areas. So thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Good evening. This is Manera Wars, helping neighbors line. As you have the action on security, empowerment, outreach, linkage. I want to thank for support again this year, BG funding, a special Shalori Jen made sure that the county and from other grants as a food funding, as you like the cuts that have to the food program here are filled down and we're feeling the effect. So we're getting less food, need more and more. I asked community to bring up, and it's been brought up several times over this year. So I realize it's the second hearing, so not likely on this year. Moving forward, really would like to have a conversation about the CDBG in this cat that's allotted to salary as opposed to the ones that are servicing them. I think with the legislation, $7 is split with all of us for salary. Township employee at the community and the mini program is over $8,000. Like I promised the community up, they are hers. They're confident in coming and speak themselves, but process of right to you and provide them as receive them, and then we can have a conversation. This, especially with the new funding, it's getting pretty great. Those of us who in action COVID know how bad and how we can get there, and I'm really to avoid that for our that did serve it and have everything in our tired next. We had a chance to recover us from COVID. And we had the whole program period that we had people through, and those people struggling so to have been battling day for us now. We are getting to, and we need more. It's in no way complain to allocate to all of the organization, great working, the conversation. I'm pleased to have others and what we together, just like any medium. Now, I already, but it was good thought of me, send it over and look the county said maybe
Hey, y'all, Mike, Ward, Commissioner. I'm so happy comments. I still am just in addition now. Heard Kramer feelings about it. $9 dies town half. This really doesn't make. It kind of looks like even give money that we order. So maybe we should be there's process or some proactive just so we can understand kind of how that money and what's that. All the points were about that, but uses and extreme meaning. This feels funny that undercutting budget and that's it with just has to be in the demographic. I wanted to support the lady fair and make kind of deserve appreciation given us and been held from a lot of these topics. We've actually in the city bill or CDBG implemented because it talked about the minority and when small businesses are required to fund it. So staff will stand up for all of our I think that it would be in addition to all the directors, staff from the organization, I hope from the participants helping us on goals on not just stuff that we're fun. But not least, I think start last week, I think servant a week, vacation, civil servant through it. I really appreciate the work you put in, money out, and thank you.
My name is Carrie Coe. I'm a business in Ardmore. I'm here for a completely different topic, but when I saw Beth and speak, I had to let the absence of working with us. I hope together again. And I speak of her adoration. One second.
Any other in the room? Seeing that Jody, do we have online? With who will close the hearing, move on to any other request comments to see budget and plan first.
The motion to create a food security with $50 to the major cuts, availability of programs that would likely put this administration. They are all happening, or of them are like in the future. When I made that motion, I was told the proper for the money to come, not from the fund, but from the G money. Deeply pointed to that salary once again are take the majority of the money for services. The Ardmore Community Center, these are employees. And if they were not funded for CDBG, those issues would from our fund. And what I was told about this. And we need to rethink the which we are getting the
and big neighbor. And I bet we make the rest this month that I will be making to change these. And I hope that there's support to address the insecurity, especially the way that we will it to be.
Thank you, Commissioner Stephen. I would thank who came out to the court and for the frontless work. I want to thank you for the work you are township. This is what you and did that there a need community for I think what we hear is just a pen is needed, and that as we go in our framework was just that line alternative would help make sure that the rest here are committing for the needs that study. So Chairman, this tab for all that and to all for them and brief.
Thank you, Commissioner. I also want tonight, thanks in the work on the scared comes here, and I to see our funding new thing at least levels, which was able to do that. A lot of trips being done the rest township that is really from bars in township as well. Clear up one option because they both times and when they came a colleague. Here beings are paid by the crew. People are not services these orders run this way, providing programming needed, providing after school for community, providing a number of this shows up in the budget. A number of it on our account, I think more than 1,000, but I remember directly to budget who is as well. This is not, I think, the conversation we need to have. This consensus, these are it may be true. It may be true to vote for it. So, in some, the question, where do we allocate the bonds? The use is a lot of money. And then, are there things outside CDBG document with the general fund? Some of the areas we can township on, we can. Because we can mean that, and I think the conversation that subtext is the town can apply CDBG, bring it in pocket to all the rest of the payers is I think the town is the purposes the office count ways here in the township. Still question what are our ways for what would and how we want. That's still in the report.
To point out PG
The architects are obvious. Subservice, economic leaders, and art in particular. Necessary community, a part of 70/20 cost from federal relief fund, which are now additional is not from principles. SEPTA made of state sources. For SEPTA, PA 3 last year to dealing for instances that depicted specifically requires solution
And beyond that, it is hard to imagine the main line without the main line, really. This is a township that grew up around a series of train stations that are proposed to no longer be that. SEPTA, really the conversation is about how do we invest more in SEPTA? How do we invest more in public transit? Not avoid cuts, but put more into it. What this area needs, I don't want to get into detail, but we need reliable and frequent service, because reliable and frequent service increases ridership. We need predictable funding, so year to year, people can count on there being viable and vital mass transit in this area. But the vitality of our area and southeastern Pennsylvania more broadly depend on mass transit. And the vitality of this Commonwealth depends on the vitality of southeastern Pennsylvania. So with that, I'm going to turn to this resolution, and thank you everyone for coming out tonight. Whereas the Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority faces this funding crisis, and whereas this funding crisis has forced SEPTA to propose draconian service cuts, including elimination of 5 regional rail lines, elimination of 50 bus lines, and a 9 p.m. curfew on the decimated remaining services. And whereas these service cuts, and especially those to the Paoli, Thorndale, and Kinwood train lines, and the 44, 52, 103, and 106 bus lines, will have a devastating effect on the historic mainline community of Lower Merion Township. And whereas the 8 train stops and 4 bus lines in Lower Merion proposed for elimination are vital for the many Lower Merion businesses and corporate headquarters that depend on them for the transit of employees and customers. And the 6 major hospitals, universities, and colleges are based in Lower Merion, and whose faculty, staff, students, and patients rely on SEPTA. And the commercial areas of Ardmore, Bala-Kinwood, Bryn Mawr, Haverford, Rosemont, and Wynwood, whose vibrancy depends on their customers taking SEPTA. And the residents of Lower Merion, who rely on these lines and routes to commute to work. And the economic growth and vitality of Lower Merion as new development relies on efficient and effective public transit. And the quality of life in Lower Merion, which depends on these SEPTA services to manage automobile congestion on our roads. And whereas Lower Merion, in turn, depends on the health and vitality of the broader southeastern Pennsylvania region, which also would be devastated by the proposed service reductions, with serious and long-lasting effects on SEPTA's 400,000 daily riders and the communities served in the region. A significant increase in vehicles on area roadways, causing unbearable traffic conditions and excessive air pollution, and many fewer jobs in the region with enormous negative economic impact for the Commonwealth and local governments. And whereas investment in efficient and effective public transit linking Lower Merion with southeastern Pennsylvania, such as the new Ardmore train station, will enhance the economic vitality and growth of local businesses, corporations, educational institutions, hospitals, and the quality of life in the township and region, which in turn benefits the Commonwealth. Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Lower Merion to petition the elected officials of the Commonwealth for a bipartisan commitment to a reliable, sufficient public funding solution for mass transportation in Pennsylvania that would avoid the devastating proposed cuts to the SEPTA service. Do I get a second? Okay. Any questions for staff before further board discussion? All those in favor of this resolution, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Madam Secretary, that carries unanimously. So we are now going to adjourn the special Board of Commissioners meeting. We have one more committee meeting for this evening, and that's the Building and Planning Committee. I recognize its chair, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, President Sina. Item number 1 on the agenda for tonight was the concerning the authorization to advertise proposed ordinance for the addition of 17 Elliott Avenue in Bryn Mawr to the historic resource inventory. I'm going to make, this is a, this matter had been before the building and planning committee about 2 months ago, and tonight. As advertised on the latest copy of the agenda, there's going to be a motion to table, and I'm going to explain what that's about, and then I'm going to make that motion. The owner of this property has retained counsel very recently, and that counsel has requested a period of time to bring themselves up to speed, and so they can organize all of the, whatever response they want to make to the petition. They had suggested 60 days for that. And it is the custom of this board when an owner's attorney makes a request for continuance, that we honor that request, because it's in everybody's interest, particularly on an agenda item that has no firm deadline. It's in everybody's interest to allow all of the arguments to and fro, for and against, to come out and be presented before this board makes a decision. That being said, that would take us to July for another, around July. I've had a conversation with President Sinai, who leads the scheduling of things in accordance with staff, and my understanding is it is a hope that this board would take this up in July. That depends on a number of factors, one being the availability of the owner's counsel for whatever date would be scheduled in July. Also, other agenda items that this board would have, that some of which might have firm deadlines that have to be handled, and also the presence of other commissioners able to be there when it's scheduled. Since this part of this application is sort of a new matter on this board, it's important that we get participation. So with that, I think that it may come back in July, may come back at a different time. That depends on all the factors that I've just mentioned, but it is my anticipation that this is going to come back, and certainly is not, as was discussed 2 months ago, is not going to be tabled for forever, essentially, or anything like that. So with that, I am going to make a motion to table this matter tonight. Is there a second? President Sinai. There's no debate on a motion to table, so I'll just call a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Any opposed? I see one. Commissioner Churchill, were you opposed? Oh, he's opposed, I think. All right, he's in favor, okay. And there was one opposed. Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Next item is the preliminary land development plan for 55 Ardmore Avenue in Ardmore. I'm gonna call my assistant township manager for it. He's already up there, so whenever you're ready.
Good evening, Commissioners. Typically, I don't present at Building and Planning Committee, especially on land developments, but this is not your typical application. I am here to introduce and tee up for Assistant Director Charlie Doyle to go into the details, but I wanted to provide some background and really introduce this project because this is a township project. This is the Ardmore House 2 preliminary plan. And what Ardmore House 2, it is a 4-story, 48-unit senior affordable housing project that is originated by the township. It has been a priority of this board, and it is really thrilling to be here tonight with the preliminary plan as one of the last hurdles before shovels go in the ground, assuming we get approval tonight. As I said, we have, it is going to be a 4-story senior affordable living complex, one structure. All 48 units will be 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, including 6 ADA units that are going to be designed for those with hearing and visual impairments. And again, emphasizing affordability. All 48 units will be income restricted because there is, as I'll tell you in a minute, state affordable housing funds tied to this project. So what do we mean by affordable? And we do have the breakdown up on the screen for you all. So 3 units of the 48 will be restricted to those making 20% of the area median income or less. 6 units at 40% AMI, 20 units, which is half, or a little less than half, at 50% AMI, and 19 units will be at 60% AMI. And just what is AMI? AMI is the area median income that is calculated by the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development. So they take all the incomes in the area and they average it out based on the number of individuals on the household. And those individual, these numbers up on the screen reflect one individual households because all of these units are going to be for single individuals. The township has partnered with Human Good East, who I do want to acknowledge. We do have representatives here, should the board have any questions at the end of the presentation, to be our partners, as well as Genesis Housing in this project. So we are intending to lease the property, which is currently a township parking lot, to them, and they will handle the construction, and after construction, they will operate the building once complete. And the other fact about this project that brings a smile, at least to my face, every time we talk about it, is that this is a nearly $20 million project, $19.9 million. And what we have been able to do is get this project fully funded. Yes, fully funded without a single local township tax dollar. With the majority of the funding coming from the state, PA Housing Finance Agency, $5 million commitment from Montgomery County, $1 million that this board allocated from the American Rescue Act plan, and $700,000 to round us out from the Affordable Housing Fund, which this board has established. And I am always one visual learner, so these are renderings of what the building will look like as complete. This visual is as if you're looking from the original Ardmore house. This is going to be the view from School Lane with the elevations included. And I'm going to pitch it off to Assistant
Recording
Director.
in progress.
I am going to pitch it off to Assistant Director Charlie Doyle, but before I do, I just want to recognize the tremendous collaboration that the neighbors at School Lane, who we've been in contact with throughout this process, as well as the local civics regarding this project and really informing this final product that is before you today. Charlie,
Thank you, Brandon. Good evening, commissioners. This is not the first time we've met about this project, and we'll be actually meeting with you hopefully next month as well to go over some of the finalized agreements. But at this moment, we are reviewing just the land development portion of this. So I did want to just review the background of the land development here. On the left-hand side, you'll see the lot configuration. The darker portion of the property is the existing Ardmore House 1. The lower portion that's in the bright red there is that Ardmore House 2 property. You'll notice it is a flag lot property, which gives it the advantage of the access to the lot, as well as parking that we'll be discussing later on in the land development review process here. Just to give you a big picture here, where the property is located, it does have a litany of different land use types that it's surrounded by. Notably, the institutional uses, as well as some minor commercial portion that's actually just along the frontage of Ardmore Avenue, as well as some of the particular issues that we met along the residential portions, specifically along the southwest portion of that MDR1 district. And then you'll see that bright orange there, that's that VC, that's actually that John Henry's public parking permit lot that the township owns. So as I mentioned, and you hopefully remember, last December you did vote to approve the sketch plan. This plan has been revised since then, so I did want to review some of the land development updates. Notably, the first and foremost was the working with the residents, specifically those that reside along School Lane. They had a particular issue with the daycare that was operated out of there, as well as one of the dance studios. Since then, we've worked with our building staff and have remediated the situation, hopefully, through working with the property owner themselves to make sure that they are complying with loading and parking issues that were created along Cricket Avenue and School Lane. So we did hear back from the residents regarding that issue, and they have mentioned that there has been significant improvements, so we are happy to hear that. But we will continue to monitor the situation. Second, noting is the transportation improvements and parking. I'll get into greater detail about that. Specifically, noting that Ardmore House 2 parking lot, there will be 10 public parking spots that will be provided to the community, as well as some minor interior circulation improvements, as well as some improvements along Ardmore Avenue. Finally, there's been some grading and screening improvements, as I noted, just to make sure that we were accommodating as well as possible this land development in conjunction with the neighbor to the southwest portion here. So let me get into that grading and screening portion. You may remember there was a generator, an emergency generator and transformer that were located inconveniently close to the residential property. That's since been removed. It was within almost 5 feet. It's now within 20 feet and beyond of the property line and within 35 feet of the home itself. So you'll notice as well, there's been improvements along the southwest portion. We met with the landowner who gave us an idea of the dailies themselves, the property owners, who gave us an idea of the type of fencing they would prefer. They were concerned about buffering and screening from the property, which we respect. We wanted to make sure that we increased the fencing, and we've come up with conditions in the conditions of approval, which were accepted by the Human Goodies team and have been vetted with the community as well. But we wanted, again, to make sure that we increase the diversity of shrubs and buffering along that, not only the southwest portion, but throughout the property to make sure that there's native plantings and there's enough plantings throughout the property. And then finally, there were some minor parking lot circulation improvements that were included in this new preliminary land development. So as I mentioned before, and no surprise, this is in Ardmore, so there's got to be some kind of parking issue related with it. So of course, this is a big one because we are removing the public parking lot right now that is a permit lot, lot 3. However, we are including now 10 public parking spots that will be vetted through our own system, working with our public parking unit to assure that those will be found a good home for parking, whether that's metered or permitted, is still up in the air. However, with those 10 spots, there's still 30 that are left for that Ardmore House 2 project, which is beyond the requirement there, so we're meeting all the requirements. However, with that, because of the situation, it being an existing parking lot, it being a flag lot, us working with HUD through the property, as I showed you before in that dark area, that's 75 Ardmore Avenue, that's actually operated through HUD funding and not the same as PHFA. So Brandon had gone through some of the funding, but there are more issues associated with it, but we couldn't really go into their properties for some things. One being is that we couldn't really mess with the parking more than we could on our property. So with that, the waiver, the one waiver requested deals with the size of the minimum size of planting islands. where we wanted to make sure that while we have planting islands along the property, we do want to make sure that they were in conjunction with the amount of parking that was required by the community. So here are the improvements to address the traffic calming along Ardmore Avenue, as well as where the public parking would be located. There will be improvements along the northern portion of Ardmore Avenue for bulb outs, for the sidewalk extensions, for those sidewalk gaps, so you'll have crosswalks there. With those bulbs, that will reduce the amount of, where that crosswalk is, that'll help reduce the amount of time, especially for the elderly that are crossing. Also with that comes a rapid flashing beacon, much like the one you may have seen on Lancaster Avenue. And we will work with our traffic safety to make sure that there's some kind of sufficient amount of time that we can incorporate to make sure that the crossing of those elderly individuals along Ardmore Avenue is appropriate. Again, as I mentioned, one more time, we do have 10 public parking spaces that are reserved here. So for this evening, we're asking for your consideration for recommendation to the Board of Commissioners of this preliminary land development plan. Again, requesting that the one waiver for the minimum size of planting islands. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. You're both finished with the presentation? Great, thanks. So, Commissioner questions for Mr. Doyle, or any comments? Commissioner Bernhardt.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Grunz. While this has been going forth, I've received an email from a resident of Ardmore 1, and I don't have permission to use the individual's name, but I'll just read a sentence. It says, "Only 50 or so feet from my window will be a building that gives me no view and no privacy." Would you be able to comment upon that? That's the assessment of this resident as to what Ardmore 2 is going to do with the current configuration as it relates to Ardmore 1.
I believe it would be further than 50 feet. However, yes, there will obviously be a building that's 4 stories that will comparable to the existing building there, that is also the same size. That will now be the twin of that building.
Do we know if anybody reached out to current residents of Ardmore 1 to see what their reaction to this?
Yeah, this is not the first time. We've met with the community several times. I don't know if you remember, but we did have a meeting with the public upon the inception of this project. We did also meet during the sketch plan process, and have been meeting with the Ardmore House Board several times. I've actually met with their, since we've kind of started with the sketch plan process, I've also been meeting with those quarterly meetings with the Ardmore House Board.
Was anybody else expressing a similar type of concern that you were able to address?
I don't know if I can address that issue.
No,
really.
that you did when you met with them, not here and now.
Yeah, in the beginning, there was definitely some apprehension that was voiced by some of the residents, and there still is. And that's respectably so. It's going to be disruptive. We're understanding of that. It's no different than any other construction project that would operate in the township. Unfortunately, it's happening next to them, right? But it's a land development project in the community.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may also add, Commissioner, one of those public meetings that Charlie was referencing took place in Ardmore House 1. That was for the Ardmore House 1 residents. I was there, Charlie was there, our representatives from our friends at Human Good East were there to address those questions. And, again, there will be some disruption, but we've made a vow that we will work not only with the Ardmore House Board, but also the neighboring community so that they are aware of what the construction will mean, how long it will take, and clarify expectations in terms of what this means and try to mitigate as much disruption as possible.
Yeah, look, I appreciate that, and I really don't mean to belabor the point. I think what this resident was talking about is the final product is what's going to be so close and then cut off their view and their privacy. I think that's the issue that they were articulating, that from their perspective had not they'd not been addressed or people had not been consulted. But thank you very much. I appreciate the response.
Thank you. Commissioner Gilda Kramer.
I just want to thank staff for the tremendous work that you've done on this project. I think this is an excellent project and deserves our full support.
Thank you. Commissioner Stevenson, did you want to?
Oh, yeah, I'm just going to echo what Commissioner Kramer said. Thinking there's a lot of work went into this. I want to thank Human Good. I want to thank the members of the subcommittee here on the affordable housing. I want to thank the constructive feedback we got from residents in the community and across the board. You know, affordable housing becomes one of the things that we talked about, and this is a project that is a part of it. It gives me pause when we have these conversations of NIMBYism, because that becomes a part of it. And I would suggest, and as I've suggested before, for residents who are for affordable housing, but not for in their neighborhoods, and it is in the zoning where it is. So if people are against and want to expand where we're doing affordable housing, then they should come in droves and force us to change our zoning. Because there are other parts in this township that has a lot of lush land that we could do this work in, but the zoning prohibits it. So that requires grassroots things. And to come here to say that, well, we shouldn't be doing it there. Well, this is the only place we have it because this is the only place the zoning is. So I challenge members of the community who articulate that they support affordable housing, but are frustrated about where it is, then we should talk about and force this illustrious body to change our zoning and to put it other places. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Zella.
A few questions and a few comments. I'll start with the comments. This project is where it is in large part because the township, as a partner with Human Good East, owns the land. So we are contributing the land to the project. The project wouldn't be happening if we didn't own the land. We don't own land in many places. But this is a very good project, and it has happened remarkably quickly. Doesn't seem like it, but it has. And as Commissioner Kramer said, the staff has been a tremendous part of how quickly this has moved forward. Two questions, and I'm on the committee and I don't know these answers. If we're waiving 340 square feet, what are we waiving it to? 340 to what?
I know that one. 190 square feet. So
Okay.
just about half
As long
of
as
that.
it's not zero.
No, it's
I'm
not
glad
zero.
that we're still going to have some planted islands.
I think in our memo we mentioned it. We're comfortable reducing the size of the area of the planted islands because of the quality of the soil. The soil that's in it is going to be structural soil that actually retains water and air better. So we think that a smaller island can still function, even with that improved planting area within it.
I support it, but everyone should know it's unusual to waive the size of a planted island in a parking lot. And so we're doing it in this case. The county wrote a very detailed letter. Why wouldn't the landscaping plan have native plants? And the reason I ask is because maintaining landscaping is never easy. It goes in and it looks great, and a year later it doesn't. And so, is it easy to maintain?
That was not acceptable to our staff. That was probably one of the first things that we had flagged with the team. And that's exactly why we have almost 11 conditions in our conditions of approval that ensure that there will be native plants and the planning will be.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because as usual, the county's letter is thorough and they give us a good review. So a great project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other commissioner questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none. We don't yet have a motion on the table, so I will do that. I will move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of a preliminary land development plan for 55 Ardmore Avenue in Ardmore. Plan shows Ardmore House 2, a 4-story building with 48 units reserved for low-income seniors age 62 plus, and a total of 40 parking spaces, which includes 7 parking spaces for public use. With as part of the motion, I will move for the waiver from section 135-5.3.f.3c for the parking lot greening and landscaping standards to not meet the minimum required area of 340 square feet for planting islands within a parking lot. Is there a second? Thank you, Vice President Kramer. Okay, we'll now take public comment on this. Mr. Sneed, you're up. But please identify yourself again.
Yep, Mike Sneed, I'm a neighbor actually of the project on West Athens. Really excited, and I'm so happy to hear at the opening that this is a township project, because it really is. It was kind of wild how it came together under the the other ARP funding. And you know, just the staff have done a lot on it, and I think it's really impressive. And I know we've got like a lot more improvements to make before we get to final approval, and I just hope y'all consider some of the feedback that you get tonight as we move forward. The biggest one for me is the crosswalk improvements on Ardmore Avenue. I noted that there's a note from the staff in the memo, and then it was on one of the slides tonight that there will be improvements made, but I don't really understand when or who's going to pay for those. Is that still a condition of Piazza? Will that happen when Piazza gets built? I don't really understand how we're asking a development now to coordinate with a development that we don't understand for that. I think it would be really fair that since we require developers all the time to invest a little bit more in their projects for our use, that we ask the township to invest a little bit more. And yes, the ARP allocation, awesome. The property, awesome. But we could do a little bit more in regards to the crosswalk, which is also a very common complaint that the Ardmore House residents have had, in addition to all people in the neighborhood, really, about navigating Ardmore Ave. So that was a condition for Piazza. I don't understand why it wouldn't be a condition for this project as well. And we'd just like to see something a little bit more than staff will ensure. Similarly, for the construction parking plan, the Piazza development that you approved included a condition that there be an on-site contact person to maintain or like kind of be in charge of the construction parking plan. It also included that on-site contact person be available for neighborhood issues. This sounds like a prime project to have that requirement again. And if that's a township person or somebody from the constructor or the developer or whoever, makes no difference. But I think when we're asking private developers, it should be pretty easy for the township to sign up for those things as well. Just a point on, kind of a little bit to Commissioner Sinai's point earlier about misconceptions from members of the public. That's probably economics, but in like marketing, they say that perception is reality. And if we have a misperception of something, then maybe it's like a lot more communicating needs to happen. I've lived here for 10 years and tried to pay good attention to what goes on. And I just think it cannot be not said that people do not trust parking and traffic surveys that come out of the township. I don't know why. I don't know anything about them, so I trust them because I just assume that professional staff put them together and we can trust that information. But again, we see an example where we're going back and forth about 10 parking spots, 7 parking spots. It's crazy in a township this size that we don't already have a plan, understand there's a plan coming, and really look forward to that. But that's a real perception that we have, and I don't know, right? Like schooling can come and say one thing. I live on West Athens. I can come and say something else about how much parking is available and how many people use it on what days. But it seems like there should just be easy data that community can trust is true when we have these developments come up. And so just my last note is that, oh no, I have 2 more. Sorry.
Mr. Sneed, if you could just try in some other comments.
Yeah, accessibility, I think again, an area where the township could really contribute is to make all kind of 4 corners of this property accessible, unlike the situation over at 1 Ardmore building, which is not wheelchair or handicap accessible on the backside. And then last but not least, this is a government project, so whatever you name it now, it will be for the next 50 years. And so maybe if there's an opportunity to think about something other than Ardmore House II, we might want to do that before it gets locked in. But thank you, and really support the project.
Thank you.
Doug Fries, on behalf of Ardwood Civic Association and Ardmore Progressive. Ardwood Civic Association and Ardmore Progressive Civic Association wish to express our support for the proposed Ardmore House 2 development project. Affordable senior housing provides multiple benefits to our community. It allows seniors to age in place, reduces financial burdens on fixed-income residents, provides safe and accessible housing, and demonstrates our community's commitment to inclusivity. We believe Ardmore House 2 will have a positive impact on the local economy.
Thank you. Is there other public comment?
This at 5'3" level. Good evening again, Commissioners. Manira Walker, Neighbors Helping Neighbors on the Main Line. I want to reiterate what we've said all along as members of our community, is that we're thrilled about this project. We are very, very happy that it is happening. I don't want that lost in all these conversations. For the members of South Ardmore, the residents of South Ardmore, we are very, very grateful that this project is happening. We support it. We know it's going to cause different things with demolition and other things, and we're ready for that, along with the playground. We're thankful for the work that's being done in the community to make things better for those who need the extra support. I want to say thank you, too. We were at the Planning Commission meeting, and you guys heard that we needed the public spaces. Thank you for increasing that from 7 to 10 potentially. And just in speaking, okay, well, I'll finish that, and then I have a shout out. I think I'm going to make this a regular thing to do shout outs. But when it comes to the spaces, those of us in the community are requesting that minimally half of those 10 spaces be metered and not permitted, because we can only park in the metered spaces when we want to visit people. And while we do respect that the businesses have the ability to, pay for permanent spaces for their people who come to their places, those people also could use metered spaces, but conversely, we cannot ever use a permitted space. So that's very important to us. And even for Neighbors Helping Neighbors, I mean, we deliver to so many people at Ardmore House 1 that we have to bring 2 and sometimes 3 cars to bring their bags on Thursdays. So there's nowhere currently that we can park, and we just really kind of have to block things up until we could get all those bags in there to feed people. So again, that's another reason why if it were metered spaces, I could just pay the meters and run inside, and it wouldn't block up the traffic. And the big shout out is to our Commissioner, Ward 4, Anthony Stevenson. Everyone talks about the different meetings that occurred in different places, but Anthony's the one that went around our community and answered all the personal questions and had all the extra conversations with people as this planning occurred, and he made sure that our voice got in there. So Anthony, on behalf of our community, thank you.
Thank you. Did we record it? Thank you.
I'm sorry.
What do you want? It'll be my campaign for the next position.
I got you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Is there anyone online with public comment?
I have 2 people with their hands raised. I'm going to put Jean Levasseur in, and then Maria. Ms. Levasseur, would you please put your camera on and unmute your mic?
How's this?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jody. I had planned to say something very different tonight. It looks like I'm going to have to save that till next week, because there's a bunch of information here that's missing. And I would appreciate it if staff could put up the video on their screen that shows both Ardmore House 1 and Ardmore House 2, the full plot of that I found out at the planning commission meeting that the construction, it has been approved to take 14 months, that it is approved to be Monday through Friday from 7 in the morning till 8 at night. And I think it's Ms. Anderson from Human Goodies that made this testimony, and that they are also allowed to do construction on Sundays from 9 to 6. That needs to be part of the discussion here, because as much as it sounds like it, by the lack of reference to people actually meeting with and consulting with the residents of Ardmore House, as I do every single day as their resident liaison, you'd almost think it was a vacant property. But there was something else that we found out after the planning commission meeting, and you really need to have that map up there to understand this. Apparently, the parking lot property was always intended to remain a parking lot, regardless of what zoning changes y'all did, because it's not plumbed into the sewage and water system of the township. Our property, Ardmore House 1, is plumbed. And so what I guess our board has decided to do, although they've never told us, we haven't seen our board since before COVID. They haven't come and spoken to us. And the only contact that was made with us about this project was one at the Ardmore House, as Charlie said, on November 14th. That was 6 months ago. So we're finding out all of this stuff just because I'm able to attend meetings because I have a computer. Most people don't. What we found out is that our furthest row of parking, we have 2 rows of parking parallel to our building. The one that butts right up against the property line for Ardmore House 2 is going to be taken away from us during construction so that they can tear up our parking lot in order to put those pipelines in and connect it to the new building. Also, I testified at the Planning Commission that there's only a 5-foot setback between the property line that we share and the back edge of the north edge of the Ardmore House 2 building. And that's not enough room to build a 4-story building. And so they also need to take all of our parking away in that second row for 14 months or however long this takes. They're going to take all of that parking away, take out a tree permanently, which will never be replanted, and use that area to put the cranes and the jackhammers and all of the big noisy construction equipment to make this building happen. Now, all along, I've tried to highlight that I do not dislike this project. I support more affordable senior housing in the area, but this property is not large enough to do this building. And I firmly believe that. But if it's going to happen, if our input is going to be ignored, if our inconvenience and having, when they're taking that strip of parking away from us and turning it into a construction area, the edge of construction moves from 40 feet away from the front of our building. Thank you, Commissioner Bernheim, for reading that email. I've measured it out at 40 feet, not 50, but it's going to reduce from 40 feet to 22 feet from our front door.
Ma'am, if you could wrap up your comments, please.
Okay. Please consider all of these things, track down where this information is coming from and why it's being hidden and why no one is speaking directly with the residents of Ardmore House. It's really frustrating, but I have a compromised position that I hope to present to you at the meeting next Wednesday. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. There was one other online.
Lori Daly, and I'll promote her now. She's joining.
Hi, Ms. Daly, go ahead. You have about 3 minutes, please.
Okay. excuse me, I would love to be there in person, but
Yeah, could you identify yourself first, please, ma'am, and just your name and where neighborhood you live in?
I'm Lori Daly. I live at 29 School Lane, directly next to this project.
Thank you.
So, sorry, I'm traveling for work and I am sick, so I am not able to participate in this as I would have hoped. But I do, I was at the Planning Commission meeting and I have met with Charlie and Brandon. I've had some communication with them since I still have questions about what is actually going to be conditions regarding the landscaping and utilities. I got some follow-up from Charlie, but I still have some questions. So it seems like the request for fencing to change has been responded to positively, and that seems like that's going to be a condition. We still were questioning, you know, if the transformer and the generator could move farther from our property, and it seems like that has fallen off of, that's not going to happen. We heard from the architects last week at the Planning Commission meeting that that it's not possible, basically. Also heard from one of the architects at the Planning Commission meeting who spoke and said that one of the reasons that they couldn't move it further was because if it was going to be, I think, within 30 feet of the new building, that they would need to build a blast wall because of the transformer. And so again, like, this is one of our concerns with it being so close to our house, that, you know, it would make us feel a lot more comfortable if this was further. I think what I understand is that it is is at a minimum feet requirement, but like, we don't have a blast wall at our property, and just, you know, it's something I'm still not happy about, as being next door to this for our own health and safety, also just, you know, everything I'm reading about the electromagnetic field risk for health, and okay, so just want to share that. Also, that it seems like with the parking, yes, it might have increased to 10. This is still, like, there's still spots that should be available to the public. It seems like with this new construction that the extra spots above what is required, which is, since the parking reduction that was approved, they are taking more than what is required. The requirement would be 26, it seems like, and they are going to have 30 for this new place, but the public is losing 90 some spots. So, and even if we go by the estimates, we see that even if, like, you know, Micah said, doesn't really seem in line with what we see all the time, but if we go by the survey, that even those numbers show that the public is using, like, on average 30 to 40 spots a day, then it's still not sufficient. And as Munira pointed out, like, there's lots of reasons why people need to come in and use that parking, the public and residents and businesses.
Ms. Daly, if you could wrap up your comments, please.
Okay, I believe that I get a little extra time because I am representing our neighbors on School Lane.
I asked you to, if you could wrap your comments up. Thank you.
Gotcha. All right, so the spaces there, 10 spaces, I think it's really difficult to share amongst all of these people that need to still use this public parking. And I would ask that you consider making it a condition that the remaining 4 spots would be for the public and not for this new construction. If we are on school lane without parking at our houses and we have to find street parking or other parking, people in Athens, same thing. Businesses, same thing. You know, I think that responsibility of having to share that, having to find other parking, it should be shared.
Thank you.
Part of the Ardmore master plan is, you know, to reserve as much public space as possible. So if you could keep that in mind, and we would ask that that be a condition to increase that parking. I also,
Ma'am, your time is up. Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anyone else for public comment?
No one else has their hand raised.
Okay. Mr. Ford, did you want to respond to any of the comments since you're standing there?
Certainly. You know, the one individual did bring up concerns, and, you know, this individual has raised them on a number of occasions. You know, we have been in constant communication with the Ardmore House Board, who has disseminated all our updates to the residents of Ardmore House, including the manager of the property, who we've you know, have worked with throughout this entire planning process, including engaging them back in November. As Commissioner Zeloff said, it might not seem quickly, but, you know, November, you know, in terms of you know, government, you know, is pretty quick. You know, to have a public meeting in November and be here in May with a plan for you all to either, you know, to vote on tonight is a pretty, you know, accomplishing, you know, feat. Not that we've skipped any steps along the way. We've been diligent in terms of working with Ms. Daly and the school lane neighbors, hearing their concerns about parking, to be sure, as well as the construction and, you know, the impact on the lives of both the neighbors and the residents of Ardmore House 1 during construction. There were a couple comments that, you know, not entirely accurate. Construction by code, and this is not strictly for this project, but any project in the township is finely regulated. They can operate between 8 and 6, 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays, 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekends and holidays. That's not just this project, that's all projects, and we're going to hold ourselves accountable, you know, to the standards that we hold others to as well, right? Regarding the one comment about having a representative on site, this is a township project. Throughout this engagement, I, myself, and Charlie have offered ourselves as tribute to any resident who would like to comment and provide commentary throughout this entire project, as well as our friends at Human Good East, who have been just terrific partners throughout this whole process. And one of the details regarding construction, you know, is true, but let me give the entire, you know, picture of the situation. Right now, Ardmore House 1 has 2 rows of parking. That is accurate. 1 row will have to be taken up during construction because, again, there's 5 feet between the property line of where the end of the parking lot row for Ardmore House 1 ends and where the, you know, the construction for the structure of Ardmore House 2 begins. But as we take up that row, we will be trading off, or I should say our friends at Human Good East will be trading off their portion of their spots along, you know, the frontage with the Masonic Hall adjacent to Ardmore Avenue. So it's not a loss of parking for Ardmore 1. It's a temporary switch. Whereas we take up a portion of their parking while we construct, they take up a portion of the Ardmore House 2 parking during construction, and when we are able, switch it back to how it will be moving forward with the 2 rows being for Ardmore 1, and then the parking for Ardmore 2 as we presented on the plan. The other comment regarding why not the 4 additional spots. The 10 spots, I will just remind the board, we went from removing all parking to preserving 7 public parking spaces, and, you know, in conjunction with our conversations with the neighbors who said, well, you know, we could probably live with 10 to 12 spots. We got 10. right? So it hasn't been, all right, we're going to stick to 10. This has been us advocating on behalf of our community and our residents to get up to 10. And I will say that was agreed to on Friday. So the plan that was up on the screen does show a planting island that will be adjusted and moved down so that all 10 public parking spaces are together. So there's no planting island bisecting, with 7 on one side, 4 on the other. So all 10 will be lined up together to create that little bit of physical barrier between what will be public parking and what will be parking with Ardmore House. And I will also note in my conversations with Human Good East that even though they have 30 spots allocated, a few will be for visitors, right? And I'm not going to advertise that anyone could park there, but they won't be, for residents, and they will be visitors who will be coming to the complex, Ardmore 1 or Ardmore 2.
Okay, thank you. So are there any commissioners who have not spoken yet who have comments? Vice President Kramer.
Yeah, I want to thank Brandon and Charlie and everyone on Township Manager and the Building and Planning Committee, Human Good East, for being remarkably responsive and flexible and trying to work with the community. There's a lot of needs from a lot of people, and we can't. I don't think anybody ever bats 1,000 when it comes to meeting the needs of every single person with a project this size. But you've come pretty darn close, and I really thank you for doing that, and I thank the community too for coming out and meeting with the staff repeatedly in order to find the common ground and make this work for everyone. And so thanks again, and I want to thank Commissioner Stevenson especially for his leadership on the Affordable Housing Committee for making this happen and for looking out for your neighbors' best interests in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else who have? Commissioner Dr. Ross.
Those thanks. And I'd like to say that this is a landmark development by our township and by the Board of Commissioners and everybody else that supports us. I'd like to end up on a positive note. This is this is a wonderful project. And we have listened to everybody. We've tried to do everything possible. And I will run your campaign, Commissioner Stevenson, if you run again. Okay? So let's end up positively. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, we'll call the vote. All those in favor, raise your hands. Thank you. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. The next on page 35 is a nomination for the Ardmore Initiative Board of Directors. I will move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners adoption of a resolution to appoint Ernie B. McNeely to the Board of Directors of the Ardmore Initiative for a term that expires January 7, 2030. Is there a second? Thank you, Vice President Kramer. First, I want to thank staff for including a bio of Mr. McNeely in our materials.
just in case you didn't know me.
That's right. Any commissioner questions or comments? Vice President Kramer.
Thanks. I want to thank Manager McNeely for his willingness to serve on the board. I think he'll be a tremendous asset. And I want to thank the Ardmore Initiative Board President, who I see right there, and the new Executive Director for bringing Ernie forward for this appointment. I think this is going to be a great era for Ardmore Initiative and for downtown Ardmore. And I appreciate your collaboration. And welcome to Alec Hirsch to Ardmore Initiative. We're happy to have you. Thanks.
Okay, great. Commissioner Bernheim.
I just want to know if we can read something into this, that the term is for 5 years, and have we just committed Manager McNeely for another 5 years to something else? Just make a statement. Oh, should we do an amendment? Okay, all right, fair enough.
Well, I would note he was appointed individually. But
Well, then
anyway,
just, look, I don't think there's anybody sitting up here, probably in this room, that, doesn't really just want to say, thanks to our manager for taking on yet one more position. And I'm sure within your 25-hour day, that's not, not too difficult, so thank you.
Thank you. President Sinai.
So I also want to thank Manager McNeely for his willingness to serve, but also commend Ardmore Initiative for their sage decision to ask him to do that. So many of you only know him from running the Lower Merion Township, which he's done since, I guess, manager since like 2014. The reason that I think he's most appropriate for this board is actually not his service in Lower Merion, but his service in Westchester before that. Where we're, at that point, at manager of that borough, they went through a remarkable downtown transformation. And I think it is that experience. When I think from the perspective of putting someone on the board, it is that history and that experience that gives him especially good credentials for thinking about and helping Ardmore think about and plan for its future. So great move. Happy to share him with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Other commissioner comments, questions? Seeing none, let me just also, without trying to repeat what my colleagues say, I think that with tonight's appointment, Ardmore Initiative is signaling what in other ways is sort of a new day for the Ardmore Initiative with a brand new executive director, a fairly new chairperson, and someone who has a lot of energy and a lot of experience in Ardmore. And I'm hoping that the initiative and expecting the initiative is going to play a bigger role working with the township and the business community in making a difference for Ardmore. So thank you to Mr. McNeely for, I don't know if you volunteered, but whatever. And also to the leaders of the initiative who are here. Is there any, we'll now take public comment. Is there any public comment on this?
Normally, some of my position will come here and speak to the positive attributes of the nominee. That seems a bit unnecessary here tonight, but we are grateful that Ernie is willing and able to join us, and we appreciate this opportunity to help build the organization and grow into the future. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any other public comment? Hugh, could that side, please?
As the board chair,
can you identify yourself, please?
Oh, sorry. Carrie Coes, business owner, Pucci Manuli here in Ardmore, and the board chair of Ardmore Initiative. I fully expect a unanimous vote up here for Ernie. We're thrilled that he has agreed to serve on our board. We are super excited with Alec as the brand new executive director. Sorry, Commissioner Rossman, we took him from you. Just super excited, and we are looking forward to getting things done and having Ardmore reach the potential we know it's capable of. So we're super excited. So Ernie, thank you.
Thank you. Is there other public comment? Is there anyone online?
No one has their hand.
Okay, great. So I will call the vote. All those in favor, raise your hands, signifying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Next is on page 39 of the agendas is a resolution concerning for a foundation grant application for the Mainline Greenway. Mr. Leswin, go ahead.
Yes. Bring forward tonight for the board's authorization a resolution to submit a grant for $30,000 to cover the cost of a CIP project for signage of the Mainline Greenway. A couple years ago, the Mainline Greenway was established as a project in the CIP. With that, staff went out and began the design process. The design process has resulted in better cost estimates and the exact number of signs that we need to complete the eastern section. There'll be a complete report of this. We have the signage plan and the specifics of all of that with the cost that we plan on presenting at the CIP workshop in June. But this is a project for $30,000 to help offset the costs. But in order to do that, we need to have a resolution from the board.
Great. So I am going to move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners adoption of a resolution authorizing the township to submit a grant in the amount of $30,000 to the People's Parks and Community Foundation to fabricate and install signage on the Main Line Greenway. I see. Is that a second?
That's a second.
Thank you, Commissioner Whalen. Commissioner questions, comments? Commissioner Zelloff.
I'm all in favor of grant applications, so I'm just going to signal for the CIP. This was a $35,000 project that has somehow become a $200,000 project. I love the Main Line Greenway, but I hate big signs. And, you know, my vision, as I've spoken publicly and privately, Chris, is small signs strategically placed so that people can find their way through neighborhoods, because the neighbors who live in these neighborhoods don't want big signs either. So I think you have a, you know, the memo said you'd show us, the memo said it would have examples of the signs, and that didn't make the memo, and I guess you'll show that to us in the CIP, but you have to explain then how this got to be so expensive. But more importantly, please keep the signs small and appropriate for the neighborhood streets that most of the Main Line Greenway is going to go through.
Right. And I will just foreshadow what you'll see in June at the CIP workshop with the complete signage plan. The signs are rather small. We follow those principles. We understand the aesthetics of the neighborhoods that these need to go through. But unfortunately, one of the things that we have is we'd originally assumed that we could use a lot of existing infrastructure, where you could just take a sign and you could just put it on an existing sign. In Pennsylvania, traffic control signs, stop signs, yield signs, can only stay as that. You can't tack another sign onto that. So what's added is there's a number of additional poles, and the poles at that expense. And the other thing is it's a two-way greenway, so you have to have signs on both sides of the street, but you'll see all of that. So there'll be a detailed plan showing the specific signage locations. We've been really trying to work with the Township Engineer's Office and Traffic Safety to limit them to just what's necessary, and the size of the sign to keep it small and consistent with the aesthetics of the neighborhoods.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Other commissioner questions, comments? Seeing none. Is there any public comment on this matter? Please, ma'am, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jean Borak. I'm a Narberth resident, and I'm here on behalf of the Narberth Cycling Club, alongside my fellow cargo biking mom, Kimberly Bizak. We promote bicycling for transportation in Lower Merion and Narberth. And I want to start by thanking you for your unanimous vote in 2023 to fund Phase 1 of the Main Line Greenway, and that was a big yes to sustainable transportation in our community. The Narberth Cycling Club has been working from the very beginning with Lower Merion and the Bicycle Coalition and lots of local partners to bring this vision forward. And I designed the Greenway logo myself, because I really believe in the vision, so I'm artistically invested as well. And I remember pulling my 3-year-old and my 5-year-old on my bike trailer on the first Main Line Greenway ride. Now they're 7 years later, they're 10 and 13, and they're confidently biking on their own. And we've had some amazing rides since then. But all that to say, we're more than ready to see this Main Line Greenway come forward and see it on the road. And I also want to say this isn't just a feel-good idea for us. It's how we get around Lower Merion and Narberth. We use it to get to the grocery store, to the gym, to the doctors, and to the parks and trails. And it's a healthy, fun way to get around. It's taking one less car off the road and one less cloud of pollution and emissions, and it's less money that's spent on gas, car maintenance, and parking, which leaves us with more money that we can use to support our local small businesses. So once this route is marked and signed, I really think that you will see the pent-up demand that is brewing in this community really start to unfold. And I think you'll see more people choose to bike instead of drive to get around. People are ready. The Greenway just needs a little infrastructure love to really take off. So here's, in terms of what I'm asking tonight, I'm asking you to please approve the funding so that we can launch the first leg of the Mainline Greenway. We're hoping to launch last fall, but the next best time is now or sometime this year. And I would say don't stop there. Be bold and roll out the rest of the Mainline Greenway as fast as we can. And because the Greenway is really, it's a low-hanging fruit. It's the stake in the ground, and it's really the first step towards sustainable, active transportation in our community. And our kids need it, our seniors need it, our businesses really need it, and our planet needs it. So please make that a priority. And our cycling club is currently over 600 members, and I can tell you that they have been waiting a long time for it, and we're ready for it too. And secondly, once the Greenway is signed, I would urge you to prioritize key safety intersections along this route, including Wynwood Road, that section, and then Bowman Avenue. I think those two are key connection points that are currently unsafe and very often used today by young kids and families who cross those intersections all the time. And lastly, I recommend that the commissioners consider amending the township's policy on that doesn't allow bicycle pavement markings on this route. I will note that PennDOT recommends that both signs and pavement markings as a minimal requirements for a Greenway route for a reason. They help drivers and cyclists alike. They improve safety, and they're inexpensive. So Narberth will be including the pavement markings along with a lower cost signage on our segment of the route, and we have the funds budgeted, and we're ready to start, and we're just waiting for Lower Merion to give the green light on this, and so that we can roll this out together. And that's it for me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other public comment on this matter? Anyone online? No one online? Okay. I will call the vote. All those in favor, raise your hands. Thank you. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Next on page 43 of the agenda, there are two historical architectural review board matters. Would any commissioner like either of these considered separately? I see none, so I am going to move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the following certificates of appropriateness as recommended by the Historical Architectural Review Board at their meeting held on May 6, 2025. 4 East Lancaster Avenue, Ardmore Commercial Historic District, 25-10, approval to install a sign consisting of halo-lit channel letters on a 2-inch deep backing panel citing Secretary of the Interior Standard 9, and 14 West Lancaster Avenue rear, Ardmore Commercial Historic District, 25-08, approval to install a large window in the rear facade and replace and relocate the rear entry door citing Secretary of the Interior Standards 9 and 10. Is there a second? Thank you, Vice President Kramer. Any commissioner questions, comments on either one of these? Seeing none. Any public comment on either of these? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor, raise your hands. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next, there are, on page 48, there are 2 historical commission matters. I'm going to ask that we take these separately because I have comments on the first one. Greg, do you want to make maybe a 90-second presentation on the 307 East Spring Avenue?
I will do my best.
And I'm not going to time you.
All right. Let's So yes, 307 East Spring Avenue is one of the 4 units of the Suntop Homes, which is the Frank Lloyd Wright creation in Ardmore. The action tonight is for retroactive approval to replace a balcony. And we never really like to see retroactive approvals, but this is something that was caught kind of toward the end of construction, and we asked the property owner to come into the Historical Commission to have it reviewed. So first of all, Suntop Homes, very complex in terms of construction. The balconies were built in a certain way that doesn't hold up over time. Much like Falling Water, which is getting a $7 million, I think, renovation right now. These houses were built to very unique standards, and these balconies tend to collapse over several decades. This one evidently collapsed about 10 or 15 years ago. And was not rebuilt at that time. The owner of this property decided to rebuild it within the last few months. Reconstruction of prominent elements like this, especially in Class 1 properties, are the kinds of things that we would like the Historical Commission to review just to make sure that what's being rebuilt is in keeping with the original design of the structure, and to make sure that in terms of engineering and materials and a very complex structure like this, that it's being done the right way. Certainly visually, it appears to have been constructed in a way that's in keeping with that original design intent of Mr. Wright, but the Commission wanted to make sure. The applicant has provided some sketches and notes on the reconstruction. The Commission asked them to provide some more detailed engineering drawings, and actually our building department is demanding those as well. So they assigned a subcommittee to review those once they come in, but they did recommend approval of that pending that subcommittee review.
Okay, thank you. So let me start with the first comments. So this is a Class 1 resource, and Greg told me earlier that this has been on the township's registry for a long time. It has not just been nominated or approved in the last few years since the deck fell down. And then after that happened, even though it's a Class 1, which is our highest category of historic property, the owner let it sit for years rather than repair it, which is their obligation. And then when they did repair it, they did it without permits and without, my understanding is without any township permits. That's correct?
That's correct.
Right. And without any historic commission approval, which now they're seeking. And further, I inferred from the description in our agenda materials, and Greg has confirmed this, that the owner has provided the Historical Commission with, to quote what's in our materials, limited documentation about what they have done, which is not necessarily the documentation that the Historical Commission would have wanted to have, and that that the Historical Commission, I believe, generously in their review of this, said that they were, as Greg said, appointing this subcommittee, but that they felt that the reconstruction appears to be in keeping with the original balcony, again indicating that they were not given all of the information that they had wanted. So all that being said, I think it is a shame that that the township's process was not respected, and that a historic Class 1 historic resource was put at risk. What's done is done, however, and I also respect that the Historical Commission, which is made up of people with much more perspective and historic preservation than I, have felt that it was that they wanted to recommend approval subject to this subcommittee receiving final detailed dimensional drawings in order to them to make a final determination that everything was done in accordance with the way it should have done. So based on that, I am willing to, and I will, make a motion to, as requested, as recommended by the Historical Commission, for retroactive approval with the subcommittee to review final detailed dimensional drawings. However, I am concerned that the subcommittee should get the drawings that it needs to get to make the determination, and that we make it clear, I believe this board should make it clear that whatever the owner chooses to give is not sufficient if the subcommittee feels that in accordance with our township code, they should get other additional information. So essentially, and then I'm going to make my motion, and then we'll open up for other comments. I am going to make a motion for, as is in our materials, for retroactive approval, but add on at the end that the final detailed dimensional drawings should be as required by the subcommittee in order to render a decision according to our township code. So with that, I am going to move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of an application as recommended by the Historical Commission at their meeting held on April 28, 2025 for 307 East Spring Avenue, Ardmore, Suntop Homes, Class 1, 2025-R-3, retroactive approval to replace a balcony, citing Secretary of the Interior Standards 2, 5, and 9, with a subcommittee to review final detailed dimensional drawings as required by the subcommittee in order to render a decision on approval according to code. Thank you, Vice President Kramer. Okay. Other commissioner questions, comments? Commissioner Whalen.
Question, I'm not sure who this is for, but, and it sounds kind of ironic coming from me since I hate that we table so much, but is there a reason why we're voting to approve tonight? It feels like we're putting the cart before the horse when we should, we're taking away all the teeth of saying, well, I hope they give, they have approval, and I hope they give the necessary engineered drawings. This has been a recalcitrant property owner. I mean, I don't know who it is, but obviously somebody who's thumbed their nose at the processes of the township and has acted not in good faith. So maybe knowingly, maybe not, but I mean, demonstrably bad faith here with regard to how things should have been, let alone on top of that, how things are supposed to act with regard to the Historical Commission. So I'm a little curious why we're, agreeing, evidently what's done is done, and so we want to make sure that it's done right, but why we're giving this person or persons, whoever owns it, any leeway whatsoever.
Yeah, well, Commissioner Whalen, I wouldn't describe it necessarily as leeway. The HARB and the Historical Commission often assign subcommittees to review additional details or clarifications or minor modifications to projects that the full commission or HARB feels that they can otherwise approve. This is a case where they felt that way, and as with any subcommittee, if the subcommittee feels that what they're presented with is insufficient or in some way not in keeping with the historic character or their guidelines, they can send it back to the full commission, and then it would come back here to the committee and then the board.
So I guess as a follow-up to that, are there any pending violations or fines against the property for this?
That would be a question for the building department, but I can say that there is also interior work that occurred at this property that's outside the purview of the Historical Commission that is also being reviewed somewhat retroactively.
I think I probably am in line with a lot of people. I understand what we're trying to do. It seems like we're doing it out of order, frankly, and it feels like nothing about this is working the way it should work in the township. I don't know specifically about this property. I don't have the details, admittedly, but it feels uncomfortable to me that we're being, as a board, put in this position, and we're basically rubber stamping a property owner who owned a Class 1 resource. I'm sure that property owner knew that it was a Class 1 resource, who completely thumbed their nose at the process And, I mean, I get we're kind of maybe caught in a catch-22, but I'm not sure that we really are. It just feels like this is being hoisted upon us, and I'm a little uncomfortable in voting at all on it. So, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Gilda Kramer.
Have the, excuse me, have the permit fees for this work been paid retroactively when they're seeking retroactive approval?
I'm not sure the status of payment of fees.
Well, I would like to move that this, an amendment to your motion to require that any outstanding permit fees, or what would have been permit fees, be paid before any approval were to go into effect.
Commission, they can't.
What?
Until they get the certificate approved here,
Okay.
they can't get a building permit. So they can't pay a permit fee for a building permit. And as Greg said, there are some other things that happen at the property that the building department is also looking into, but that may also require taking out a building permit along with this deck. But at this point, they really can't get it until and unless this board grants the historic approval.
But I guess my question is, what if we were to grant the historic approval, would they be required to pay what should have been the permit fees for the work that they did?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Other commissioner questions, comments? Seeing that, let me just respond, if I may, just very quickly. So Commissioner Whalen's questions were exactly pretty much the same ones I asked Greg about 3 hours ago now. And I think that, and this sort of addresses, Commissioner Kramer, what you just said, this is a historical commission matter. It is not the township assessing fines and things for code violations and for other work that may be done without a permit seems to not be pertinent to the historical commission matter. And what this motion does is tell the historical commission that they have the authority, they should require the documents they need and make a decision. Yeah, approve, don't approve. If we were to delay this, whereas viscerally, I kind of feel like I'd like to do that because it teaches someone they shouldn't do work without a permit. On the other hand, that doesn't get this project approved to the satisfaction of the historical commission. So, forgive me, Greg, did you want to say something else, or Chris?
Well, just briefly, the Historical Commission is always very careful in, or the members are very careful in deciding who should serve on the subcommittee. Not all members of the commission have the experience to adequately review something like this. So we happen to have one of our new members is a fantastic structural engineer who lives in the township, and he offered to serve on this subcommittee. So they felt that the experience within that smaller group was sufficient to review any additional documentation that comes in.
Thanks. Chris, did you want to say something? I don't know if you're...
Just that the matters of penalties and fines are being handled administratively on the building side of this, but that's outside of the historical aspect of it. But all work that was done without permits is being addressed through that process.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there any public comment on this?
My name is Carla Marat. I'm from Marion. I just wanted to thank Commissioner Whalen for your comments. It seems to me that in this particular example that a problem has been uncovered in our township process. When we finally get something as a Class 1, then somehow, and it's a Frank Lloyd Wright building, all these things can fall through the cracks. So my question is, and I know you're a busy guy, Greg, but what could be done to find out, to use this as a case study and to figure out what additional ordinances or whatever need to be created to reduce the probability of something that sounds this egregious. I mean, again, interior as well as exterior, and doing a whole project, I guess, without even a permit. I mean, I made my point. So if anybody knows what might be done to try and strengthen the existing ordinance, then I'd like to hear about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Okay. Anyone else have anything on this matter? Any response? Oh, Commissioner Stevenson.
I would just want to follow up on what the resident brought up, and this has come up before. What do we have to, when people do these, what they call these mistakes, where is the consequences on this to be discouraging? Because this is not the first time things, not Frank Lloyd Wright is at a different level, but in other cases we've had these conversations, and I feel like it stops there. And at what point will we, as the legislative body, or task the township with coming up with what is a reasonable way to discourage this or have people pay the consequences for it? That was a question and a statement. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Okay, anyone, Commissioner Bernheim?
Yeah, if I can just follow up from Senator Stevenson's comment. This has been an issue for a long period of time, where we've had people, they don't ask permission on the front end, but ask forgiveness on the back end. We've gone through this countless times, and many of us can come up with a number of examples. And we have actually been working with some of our staff regarding the manner in which they're able to identify the problems, go ahead and then try to issue some of the citations that are out there. And it becomes difficult. Sometimes it is inadvertence, pure heart, empty head, that causes some of these difficulties, and other times it is intentional. In each matter, it needs to be looked at separately. But it is a systemic problem, and it's not just this example, it's many of them. And I'm sure President Sinai will echo this. It was one of our to-do list items, unfortunately, again and again and again, but it is something that is going, we're trying to go forward with in some fashion to try to correct it. I'm not sure, if you do anything different than what you're recommending here for this circumstance, but to the point being raised, we're aware of it. We're more than just aware of it. We're trying to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none. Oh, Commissioner Whalen.
Really quick,
Yes,
I just
real
wanted, Commissioner Bernheim and Stevenson made me realize that my comments have come across as negative to Ernest Pendleton, and I don't want them, nothing I said should be viewed against him. He has been a spectacular force, really, in the last few years, much what Commissioner Bernheim has talked about. We were pretty terrible when I first came on board about handling these things, and staff has gotten much better and hired Ernest and been moving things forward. And so I don't want anything in my comments to be viewed as negative to the Building and Planning Department or Mr. Pendleton, and thank you for the leeway to speak twice.
Sure. We'll send him a copy of the video. All right, anyone else? Okay, we'll call the vote on this. All those in favor, raise your hands.
Like with a thumbs down.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I take it there's no commissioner online anymore. So. All right. The next one, I am going to recommend to the Board of Commissioners, move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the following application as recommended by the Historical Commission at their meeting held on April 28, 2025, 1515 Spring Mill Lane, Villanova, Class 2, 2024-R-25-A, approval to replace a cedar roof with an asphalt shingle product citing Secretary of the Interior Standard 9. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Gavrin. Would any commissioner like to hear a brief presentation on this? Oh, you would? Yeah. Okay, Greg, I'll give you 2 minutes this time.
Well, this one should be quicker, actually. So this is, I'll just share my screen. This is an application that actually was before the commission back last fall. Originally, the owner of this property sought to replace the cedar roof with a synthetic composite material that resembled cedar. Instead, they have, in light of the cost of that material, they have opted to go with an asphalt shingle product. It's somewhat of a lesser product, but the Historical Commission felt that the product chosen was in line with their guidelines and recommended approval.
Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner
Just a
Gavin.
quick question, Greg. So how much does cost factor into the recommendations that we got? Or should it factor into recommendations? And I mean, if they're on board with this, I'm on board with it, and I'm supportive of it.
Mm-hmm.
But just wondering, as we kind of think through our ordinances in the future, where does that come into play?
Well, that's a good question, and I think cost wasn't much of a discussion point in this. It was just in terms of the property owner's considerations. Had this asphalt shingle product been initially proposed last fall, the Historical Commission's recommendation would have been the same. In terms of grades, I think a cedar in-kind replacement would have been the best choice, also probably most expensive. This composite probably would have been the next level down. The asphalt shingle is still a good product. It still reasonably replicates the appearance of cedar, but it is within the homeowner's budget, and that's what was most important to them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners' questions, comments? Seeing none. Is there any public comment on this matter? Okay, seeing none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor, raise your hands. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thanks, Greg. So the last thing on our agenda tonight is which we're glad to have it tonight because it was postponed earlier, is a demonstration of the new public interface for the historic resource inventory data. So Greg, why don't you go ahead?
Sure, and I understand it's getting late. I will be as brief as I can about this, but we are very excited to share this with you and everyone watching at home this evening. The Historic Resource Inventory is, of course, a chapter in the code, chapter A180, which is basically a list of addresses, over 1,000 addresses. But it's much more than that, actually. There's a database, there's survey data that's been collected over multiple decades. And the original surveys were on paper with black and white photos that we still have in binders down in our department. But we went somewhat high-tech after the ordinance to adopt the resource inventory was adopted in March of 2000, just over 25 years ago. After that, we created this Microsoft Access database, which included all of that survey data in an easy-to-use format. Unfortunately, it was only easy to use for those of us in our department. It wasn't easily accessible to members of the public. At one point on the old township website, which you might recall looked like this, we had a section where people could search the database for some of that survey information, but this was a static export of that database. It was a one-time export of all the information and couldn't really be updated after that. So as we added resources to the inventory, as we gathered new information, we could not update this section of the website. So with the launch of the new website and the collecting of even more information, including new survey photos, which are actually in color, supported by a CLG grant from the state, we thought about how to create a new web-based version that sort of resembled this map, this graphic that we created showing where all of the resources are scattered throughout the township. Different colors for historic districts, Class 1 and Class 2 resources, And using that color scheme that we had established a couple of years ago, we decided to create a new GIS digital version of the map, again, using those colors as dots. And I'm briefly going to go to this page now to show you what it looks like on the internet. So this is what it looks like to the visitor when they first go to the address, which is www.lowermerion.org/HRI. The www has to be there. I learned the hard way. The visitor is first presented with a brief introduction and guide to the map. They click the enter button, and they see the map of the township with all of the resources highlighted with those colored markers. The sidebar on the left at first shows a selection of thumbnail images of resources in view at the time. And the user can scroll in to get a closer look. So here we are in downtown Ardmore, and if I were to click on one of these, not quite at random, but here's the township building. First, there are photographs from that survey. There can be multiple photographs shown at once. And then information, first regulatory information, classification, is it reviewed by the HARB, reviewed by the HC, if it's in a local historic district. We have a link to our design guidelines right there to make it easy for people to find. Then historical information, including date of construction, architects, and then a narrative description. So it's a lot of fun to play around with. We've been working really hard. I have to give a big thank you to Jason Emmel in our department, who did all the technical work behind the scenes to make this happen. But we also worked really hard to make sure the dots are in the right places. A lot of them didn't quite match up, but he and I worked carefully to make sure that everything was as correct as it can be. So there's also a search bar. If you don't feel like scrolling around the map, type in an address, and that'll take you there. So again, we're really excited about this. We're going to promote it heavily to residents and to owners of historic resources, and I'm really glad to have had the opportunity to show it to you all this evening.
Great. Well, Greg, thank you, and thank you to everybody who's worked on this. Those of us who've tried to consult the historic resource inventory have missed it for the last 5 years, and it has been brought back way better than it was before. Hopefully there'll be a very prominent link in the township website as to where this is, but thank you to everyone involved. So President Sinai, I think you have some comments.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say this is absolutely amazing. Yeah. This is really a tremendous app. It's amazing work, and it is really cool. And I know I tend to wonk out on this stuff anyway, but even for just general people, like I encourage you to go. So Ward 12, which is Marion, is blessed with as many places in the township are with abundance of really terrific resources. And you can just go through and you can click through. It's like, okay, that's the Frank Furness house that's down the street. That's the other Frank Furness house that's next to it. Here are not one, but two, but multiple William Price houses in these area, right? There's the Baird Estate from Benjamin Linfoot, right? I mean, these are terrific. They're cool. You can see them. And the other thing you learn from going on this is that there are hundreds of these amazing resources, hundreds and hundreds in this township that, kind of apropos of the thing that we tabled earlier today, like are not class 1, right? And they are really significant resources. Anyway, so it's amazing how fortunate we are in the township, and we're really fortunate to have this app to see it. So thank you so much for putting it together. Thank you, Commissioner Grimes.
I forgot to mention, you mentioned other resources that aren't designated. We have survey data for many, many other properties that are not class 1 or 2 or in a historic district, but we wanted to include all that data anyway. And so the light gray markers on the map represent those properties.
Thank you, Commissioner Zellow.
Thanks, Commissioner Grimes. Another feature that I guess you didn't show us, but is in the memo, is addresses complaints that come from people who own properties that are designated, which is, how do we find out what to do if we want to make an improvement. And you say the design guidelines are in here and easy for owners of such properties to navigate. And that's been a problem, so that's very good. What's the plan for the staff to notify all current property owners of that own properties that are on the HRI of this new information and how to find it and how to use it?
So we are planning to send postcards to all owners of historic resources promoting this as well as the design guidelines. So
Great.
2 birds with 1 postcard.
Thank you. The map is remarkable. It shows all the dots. There was a quote 2 months ago that suggested that this township is not committed to historic preservation. That map demonstrates that that is a laughable comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Any other commissioners tonight? Okay. Greg, thank you for good work tonight. And that concludes the business of the Building and Planning Committee.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner Grimes. And with that, we are adjourned for this evening. That is for the public. For those of my colleagues, we are going to go to the caucus room.